Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's call. My name is Megan, and I'll be your moderator for this discussion on veteran benefits and what the Department of Veteran Affairs is doing to ensure Florida veterans continue to receive the benefits they have earned. In a few short minutes, we'll start taking your live questions. If you'd like to ask a question, just press 0 at any time. I'm pleased to introduce a very special guest we have on the line, Dr. Paul Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence is the Undersecretary for Benefits at the VA. He oversees almost all benefits for every veteran across the country. That includes everything from disability compensation to pensions to education benefits and home loan benefits, just to name a few. Pretty much any benefit you can think of outside of health care. Dr. Lawrence is a veteran himself. He attained the rank of captain in the Army, and he comes from a family of service members. His father was a career Army officer who served in Korea and Vietnam and is buried in Arlington Cemetery. He knows firsthand what it's like to enter into the VA system, and that's why he is working tirelessly to make it better every single day. Dr. Lawrence, thank you first for your service, and thanks so much for doing this call today and being willing to speak openly with Florida veterans during this very difficult time.
Thanks, Megan, and thanks for that kind introduction, and a big thank you to everyone who's on the phone right now. I'm really looking forward to taking your questions and providing an update on all the steps we're taking to make sure we continue to deliver veterans the safest and most efficient benefits we can in these extraordinary times. And as Megan said, I really want to take your questions because it isn't just about communication. I really want to interact. So please press 0 at any time during this call, and we'll try to get to as many questions as possible. So first, let me talk about VBA for a minute. At the Veterans Benefits Administration, we're the starting point for veterans seeking help from VA with any benefits or services outside of health care. As Megan mentioned, that includes everything from disability compensation, pension and fiduciary benefits, home loan guarantee, education benefits, the GI Bill, vocational rehabilitation employment, and life insurance. Before I take your questions, I want to give you a brief update on what we're doing to serve veterans safely and seamlessly during this period of time. And again, really looking forward to your questions. Press 0 at any time, and we'll have some folks take care of you. So let's talk about what's going on in the VA more broadly, because not only our employees, but we know veterans are concerned about how the virus might affect them. And we want to make sure they understand we are open, but we are taking prudent steps. Our secretary, VA Secretary Robert Wilkie, is part of the President's task force on the coronavirus. He's been there from the very beginning, making sure we understand the guidance the Center for Disease Control presents and how we should be best be dealing with it. He early on closed our community living centers and our spinal cord injury units to visitors to make sure that our veterans were safe, and is really taking prudent steps to ensure veterans are well taken care of. He reports that recently we have 4,500 veterans who have tested positive. 3,500 are at home. The others are in our hospitals receiving care. And so just to let you know what's going on in the hospitals, Dr. Richard Stone is the executive in charge of the Veterans Health Administration, or VHA. He is a career military officer, a combat physician, and he chooses to have his care at the VA hospital. So he's not only worried about care for all veterans, but that's how he gets his care. He reminds me regularly that we in VA, and more specifically the VHA, drills for situations like this. When there are hurricanes or tornadoes and floods, we prepare for mobilization. So while the coronavirus is certainly different and larger, we take steps to be prepared for this. So the VA healthcare system is open for business and has the capacity to see you in the way you choose to be seen. The community care program continues to work hard with civilian doctors to make sure they're available. But your first step, if you are feeling sick or unhealthy, is call your local VA medical center. Please be patient if everyone calls at once. There could be longer waiting times. We have sufficient medicines available to fill your prescriptions, and we'll do telemedicine if that's appropriate, and we're here to see you as needed. So the hospitals are open for business. Over in the Veterans Benefits Administration, we made the difficult decision almost a month ago to close our offices, our benefits office, for public contact. That's where veterans came in and we helped them in person. As you can imagine, when contact became a situation, we didn't want our veterans exposed and neither do employees. But you can always reach us at this number, and I'll repeat it twice. 1-800-827-1000. Again, that's 1-800-827-1000. And you can talk to folks from the Benefits Administration to help you with your benefits issues. Now, while we are closed to public contact, our offices, our employees continue to work. We are telework enabled. So one of the questions I often get in this forum is, will I still continue to receive my benefits? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Another question is, what about my claim that I recently filed? We are processing claims. Our employees, again, are telework enabled, and we are processing claims. There are some differences by virtue of the time we're in. One of them has to do with what are called the C&P medical exams, where in order to validate a veteran's claim, we have to ask them previously to go see a medical professional, a doctor, and have them be examined. We obviously can't do that now. We stopped those in-person C&P exams around the beginning of April, and now we do what are called tele-C&P exams, kind of like telehealth, or we try to look at the evidence you provided us in your medical record. So a lot can be done that way, but if we can't do that, we'll put you in, work your claim as best we can and put you in line so we can go back and meet in person. Another question folks have asked, what about our student veterans in the GI Bill? As education institutions began to shift to online training, our student veterans returned from the campus to home, and it could have been their monthly housing allowance changed. The President signed a piece of legislation on March 21st protecting the monthly housing allowance of our veterans, so they'll continue to receive the same housing allowance. They don't have to do anything, and they should see no interruption. For the student veterans who are very aware of what goes on, they're welcome to follow us online. Charmaine Bogue is the leader of our education services that manages the GI Bill, and she's very, very active online. So again, you can always get us at the number 1-800-827-1000. You can visit us on va.gov. So we're here to answer questions for you at any time.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. And I'll repeat that number. You can call 1-800-827-1000 at any time to learn more about filing a claim or any other VA matters. And don't forget that any time during this call, you can press 0 if you would like to ask a question. Dr. Lawrence, it looks like we have a few questions coming in. Our first caller is from Therese. Therese, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Lawrence, it's odd that you should call. I mean, it's an opportune time. My brother is a two-tour Vietnam vet. He was a gunner on a Huey, and he went into the VA hospital in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania on November 3rd. He was very, very sick. He was falling down, and they had done a valve replacement on my brother in the VA in New York, June of 2018. Well, he went in with a bag packed in Wilkes-Barre because he was so sick. I've never seen him sicker. And this Dr. Hassan told him it wasn't a hotel and told him to leave. My brother fell down a couple weeks later, ended up in Geisinger Hospital, also in Wilkes-Barre, and he had an infection in the valve that they replaced. And they wouldn't take my brother in, and after 3 weeks of me being up there with my brother, I watched him die, because he had 25 strokes from the valve that affected his brain, and the VA pretty much killed my brother. There is a memorial for my brother in Pennsylvania, even a retired senator from Pennsylvania, because my brother was so good and so friendly, and he was a VFW commander of many VFWs. But they didn't help my brother at all. He's dead.
I'm so sorry to hear about your situation. I'm at a loss for words. However, you are available. There are benefits available to you based on your brother's service. So I'd ask you to give us a call at 1-800-827-1000 and see how we can help you. Another way you can do that is I know the Florida Department of Veteran Services also provides claim examiners to help you. So you can call them at 727-319-7440, and they'll arrange to have a Veterans Claim Examiner call you within 24 hours to figure out what type benefits might be available to you.
Thank you, Therese. Our next caller on the line is Ruby. Ruby, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
My question is, my husband is a VA, a retired military, Air Force, 04. He's a major, and he's an optometrist. He cannot get any help from the VA whatsoever. Nothing. We have been there 3 or 4 times, and they will not help him. And he has Parkinson's. Okay?
I'm sorry to hear about that situation. Let's figure out how we can get you some help. I'd ask you to give us a call so we can figure out your brother's status and what we can do. It's 1-800-827-1000. Please give us a call and let us figure out how we can assist you and your brother.
Thank you, Ruby. Our next caller is from Renee. Renee, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence.
Yes.
What's your question?
Hi, this is Renee. I'm calling about an issue. I got approved for one of my benefits for my neck, and I had secondary issues that I needed to add to it, and it was sent from the DAV saying that they needed to add and address those issues because they did not give me an SOC, so she sent that in. But I've never been given a answer on the secondary issues, and that was years ago, and they say that my case is closed.
Certainly, I understand. So let's figure out how we can get you some help. I know that was a while ago, so you might have to kind of bear with us while we ask you to fill out some more forms. So can you either contact us at the number I gave, the 800-827-1000 number, or the Florida Department of Veteran Services at 727-319-7440. They'll give you a call back in 24 hours, and they'll get you a claim examiner to help you with your claim. So I completely understand the situation. It was a while ago, and I know things have changed, so please bear with us while we try to get you the benefits.
Thank you, Renee, for your question. Our next caller is from Claire. Claire, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Hello. Mine is more a question plus I want to stress that my family we have done a lot of background checks on my husband's and gone back further beyond that. I tried to get my husband hearing aids, and they wouldn't even. They just said that we made too much money we didn't qualify because we made too much money. I'd like to know who on these calls hasn't made money. You have to live. My family was at Valley Forge with George Washington. He has been in every battle. Someone in my family has been in every battle, the service of our country since George Washington, except for one exception with the Rough Riders and Teddy Roosevelt. He was not involved in that. I just think that we need to get this situated so everyone who is entitled gets what they're entitled to, and the ones who aren't are treated with dignity. It's no fun being in a war.
Sure.
Can you tell me, please? The phone number is when you give it, I can't get it written down.
Sure. Let let's get someone who can look in on your situation. I will go slow and I'll repeat the phone number a couple times because I'm not so certain you got accurate advice, or certainly it might have been accurate a while ago. So let me ask you to give us a call, please. The number is 1-800-827-1000, and I'll say it again, 1-800-827-1000. Please give us a call so we can figure out. I appreciate your family's history of service. I appreciate your husband's history of service. So thank you. Please give us a call and let us figure out how we can help you.
Thank you, Claire. Our next question comes from Robert. Robert, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
You talking
Hello,
about
Robert. Yes. Hi, Robert. What's your question?
I don't know. You called me. I didn't call you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. What we're trying to do is make sure veterans have earned the benefits gotten the benefits they've earned. Thank you. Have a good day.
Our next question comes from Betsy. Betsy, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Hello, Betsy. What's your question?
Oh, it looks like Betsy dropped off the line. Our next caller is from Jerry. Jerry, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
I'd like to know if I should pass away. We're on our fixed incomes, and we don't have a lot of money coming in by no means, only SS. And I was just wondering if any of my disability checks could some way or another go over to my wife if I should pass away.
Yes, I'm glad you called. Thank you, Jerry, for that question. I'm glad you called. One of the most frequent questions we get is, what are our spouse benefits? When you're right, when you pass, what might your wife be entitled to? She'll be entitled or potentially entitled to a series of benefits. One's called a survivor's pension, and again, that depends upon your particular case. The answer to your question, though, directly is, will she get your check? And the answer is no. However, there is something called DIC. It's an acronym for Dependency and Indemnity Compensation, where she would receive a smaller check. There's also accrued benefits. If some of your benefits have not been completed, she can receive those, as well as a burial allowance. So to better understand what's appropriate for you, please give us a call or the Florida Vets. So let me give you our number again. It's 1-800-827-1000. And again, the Florida Vets number, and this will go into a recording, and they'll arrange to have one of their veterans claims examiners talk to you. It's 727-319-7440. But the bottom line is, there could potentially be benefits for your wife. Please let us figure out what's most appropriate for you.
Thank you, Jerry, for your question. Before we get to our next question, Dr. Lawrence, I understand you would like to share some information with our Florida veterans on Blue Water Navy benefits.
Great. Thank you very much, and I suspect there's a lot of Navy veterans in Florida who can hear this, so this is very, very important. Last summer, President Trump signed into effect a law called the Blue Water Navy Act, which provided benefits to those members in the Blue Water Navy who served off the shore of Vietnam from 62 to 75 and were exposed to Agent Orange. This enables them to apply for benefits, and if applicable, they've been exposed and have the conditions, they would be eligible to benefits, payments to help with their care, as well as access to VA health care. So we'd ask all Navy veterans who served in this period of time, if you think you have these conditions, please apply for benefits. You can go to va.gov, and in the search bar, search on Blue Water Navy, and you'll go to a page that'll explain the conditions and how you apply for benefits. You can call us at 1-800-827-1000, or even go to the Florida Vets, the Florida Department of Veteran Services. They will help. This is really, really important, so not just for the veterans, but as a couple of folks have already asked, there are survivor benefits. So if, and it's primarily men at this time, the husband has passed and the wife is still alive, there are survivor benefits. But also what we're noticing happening is the husband passed, and the wife will have disconnected from the military, so might not be connected to veterans issues anymore. So we're looking for the children or grandchildren of these veterans who will be better able to, connect with us. So please, 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 if you know of anybody or you know a family member or a related family member, please look this up and apply for benefits. We're here to help. We have the ship logs of over 1,800 ships that were in the U.S. Navy at this time. So if you think you're in the Navy in this area, we can find whether you're exactly within the blue water. And again, there are survivor benefits. So please contact us and let us know, how we can help you apply for Blue Water Navy veterans so we can close this chapter and honor the promise, the last promise we made to our Vietnam veterans.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. It looks like we have a few questions coming in. Just another reminder that if you'd like to ask Dr. Lawrence a question, you can do so by pressing 0 now. Let's take our next question from Matthew. Matthew, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Yeah, so my question is about veterans who filed intent to files about 365 days ago. If they're running up on their deadline for submitting a perfected claim, what advice would you give to those veterans? Should they contact VA and tell them that they're not going to be able to submit documentation because of the COVID crisis? Or are you going to grant some kind of a blanket waiver for all claims deadlines during the crisis?
Sure. I'm really glad you asked about extensions because it's our intentions to be as understanding as possible for veterans in the situations you're describing. So you got one or two options. You can, in fact, call us at 1-800-827-1000 and say you will be late for reasons that we all understand. We will automatically grant that. The other thing is simply file the information late, attach a note that it is late because of COVID-19, and we will grant an extension at that point. Either one of the two will make sure that the dates are protected and veterans are not harmed because of the situation we're in. So we are completely appreciative of it and are granting extensions if asked.
Thank you, Matthew, for that question. Our next question comes from Anthony. Anthony, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Good afternoon, Dr. Lawrence. I was on the USS Coral Sea in the Gulf of Tonkin from 1966 to 1968. And while I was there, I believe I acquired lung disease, heart disease, diabetes, and I don't know what else. But anyway, I filed a claim prior to the legislation being approved. They told me I had to have boots on the ground. They reversed that and said, no, it's okay if you were in the water. However, you got to be within 12 miles of the shoreline. My ship was too big to be within 12 miles, I believe. So I don't know if that leaves me out in the cold, but it still leaves me with my 3 diseases.
Certainly, I understand. So you actually traveled a journey that was, in fact, right. Initially, veterans who were in the Navy in the blue water off the coast of Vietnam were not eligible for benefits, but that changed when the President signed the law I just described last summer, which went into effect on January 1st. I'd ask you to go back in and apply for benefits. We have a ship locator tool that can find exactly where your ship was throughout the course of the time you were on it. What I've noticed from examining the tool is even though your ship might have been large enough to be far away, ships moved in and out of the 12 miles for certain reasons, to include going into Da Nang Harbor to, dock and do those things. So please, I'd ask you to come back in and refile and let us do the research to better understand where your ship was. Again, you can do this over the phone if you'd like at the 1-800-827-1000 number. You can also have folks from the Florida Department of Veterans Services help you. If you call 727-319-7440, a veterans claim examiner from the Florida Department of Veterans Services will call you back within 24 hours. So please, you and other veterans who were previously denied because of the situation, the law has changed much of that. Please come back in and apply and let us help you figure this out.
Thank you for your answer, Anthony. Our next question comes from Lisa. Lisa, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Hi, Dr. Lawrence. My name is Lisa. I have an education question. I'm a student at a private university, and I'm a veteran, and I have a friend who's also a veteran who just was accepted into the STEM program.
Right.
And I was wondering if you could, when he put in for the STEM program and he had received his money from the STEM program, they paid him based on his annual cap, for the annual cap that we get for our post 9/11 GI Bill, instead of what we understood to be the $30,000 or 9-month extension of the Chapter 33 GI Bill.
Right.
We can't seem to find anything that says that it works differently for private schools.
That's a really good question. I'm not familiar enough with the STEM details to tell you precisely the rules, especially as it cuts across the different universities. Let me see if I can't get folks to answer that question and post something on our website so you can see the answer to that question. Okay, so I promise to get something onto our the education part of our website at va.gov that answers this question directly in terms of the application of the rules for STEM. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Lisa, for your question. Our next question comes from Godfrey. Godfrey, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
What, if any, survivors' benefits are available to veterans?
Okay. Thank you, Godfrey, for that question. There are several, and I'll tell you of them, and I'm going to ask you to call us after this or the Florida Department of Veteran Services to better figure out which ones will be available for your survivor, if that's who you're asking about. There's what's called a survivor's pension. It's a tax-free payment to survivors. There's something called DIC, dependency and indemnity compensation. Again, it's a payment to the spouse or the veteran. We have accrued benefits, so if the veteran's owed benefits, the survivor gets that, and there's even a burial allowance. So let me give you the two numbers you can call. You can call us, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, at 1-800-827-1000, and I'll repeat that, 1-800-827-1000. You can also call the Florida Department of Veterans Services at 727-319-7440. There you'll probably leave a message, and a veterans claim examiner will call you back in 24 hours to make an appointment. So please, there's a host of benefits available to survivors. Some of it depends upon the situation. So I'd ask you to give us a call to figure out what your survivor would be eligible for.
Thank you for that question, Godfrey. Our next question comes from Roy. Roy, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Yeah, I just have one question. It's a very simple one. I was given 20% disability for back and hearing, and got my first check, found out they subtracted the same amount of money from my retired pay. I'd just like to have somebody tell me why they go to the trouble doing that. Doesn't make any sense. Costs the taxpayers money, and the recipient doesn't make a damn thing on it. Got any ideas?
Yes, sir, I understand. Yeah, there's a couple things going on here. First, when veterans apply for benefits, we are required to process your claim. We generally don't know about your retired situation until after the fact, and that's when the offset takes place. So I'm sorry that happens. I know these are the rules that we do not control. It's a congressional thing in terms of how the offset from your retirement pay works on your benefits. I'm sorry you found that out that way. I wish our folks had explained that to you in advance, but again, that's just us applying the law. So thank you.
Thank you, Roy, for your question. Now, before we go back to the phones, we see that there's several questions regarding health care coming in. Dr. Lawrence, would you like to speak to that?
Oh, sure. Let me take you through some of the health care questions I see. One of them is, if you're not feeling well, what should you do? Our strong advice is, if you have a cold, seasonal flu, or something you think is related to the virus, please stay home and contact us. contact your provider so we can figure out what makes sense. As I indicated at the top of the show, there are several, 4,500 veterans have tested positive, but the vast majority of them are being treated by staying home. There's also questions about non-essential treatments, right? And those have been canceled so that we can deal with those needing urgent care and the like. So again, non-essential treatments and appointments have been canceled. Please bear with us. Routine care has just been postponed. We'll get back to you with that. There are also questions about medicines. So yes, we have an ample supply of medicine. It might be given to you in smaller amounts than before. You once might have got it for 90 days. Now it'll be in 30 days perhaps. So for a new prescription, new medication, call your primary care team. For renewal, call your local pharmacy refill phone number that you can find at va.gov. So the answer to all of these questions tend to be, we're here. We're trying to find the right way to provide your care that not only protects the veteran, but protects our employees as well. But please call. We'll arrange to take care of you in the way that you choose. So again, good questions on access to medical care. It's available. We're just trying to find the safest way to do it.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. I want to remind everyone that any time during this call, you can press 0 if you would like to ask Dr. Lawrence a question. Before we go back to the phones, there's a new program, I believe, Dr. Lawrence, that you can speak about. It's our Solid Start program. Can you talk to that?
Oh, sure. Late last year, we started a new program called Solid Start. This comes out of some work of an executive order the President signed almost 2 years ago that asked us to really rethink about the transition from military service to being a veteran. The executive order set in motion a series of work between us, the Department of Labor, and the Department of Defense to better understand what we can do to make sure the transition is as disruptive as possible, understanding that suicides sometimes result because veterans have disconnected from, the strong military teams they were in and now find themselves somewhat isolated. What came out of that was Solid Start, which is a series of 3 phone calls that we conduct to new veterans in their first year having transitioned to being a veteran. So within the first 90 days, again within the first 6 months, and again by no later than 365 days, we will be calling veterans to talk to them, new veterans to talk to them. And what we talk about is whatever they want to talk about. I think it was initially envisioned that, of course, we would get a lot of mental health concerns, and we've had a few calls about that in the calls we made so far. A lot of them, however, are questions about benefits and health care, and not unlike what we're talking about now. So this program has proven to be really, really effective as we connect veterans to the VA so they realize all the things that are available to them. Normally what happens is that we talk to them, we then follow it up with an email with other links to services they can have. And these are some of our most qualified phone representatives, so they're able to answer a wide range of questions. So we encourage everybody as a new veteran to take these phone calls when they come. If you have a cell phone, you'll see something on the order of Veterans Affairs or Veterans Administration. If you're a veteran who's been out at least 90 days and haven't gotten a phone call, we probably don't have your information. So please call us at the 1-800-827-1000 number and give us your information and say, I want to be part of Solid Start. And if you're hearing this and you know of a new veteran, please ask them to do this. If while I'm describing this, you know of a new veteran and say, or anybody and say, they could really use this help and I'm a little bit worried about them, I'd ask you to think about having them connect with our crisis line. The crisis line is manned by people every day to deal with folks who may be in crises. And we do interventions, whether it's conversation or whether it's sending somebody to help them in person. So let me give you the crisis number. It's 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. So please, as you do this, as you conduct your buddy checks this weekend, hopefully electronically, not in person, and you think that somebody you might be friends with or buddies with needs some intervention, this is the number to call. Again, it's manned by real humans, and we can do this all the time. So yes, take the Solid Start phone call. Help us connect with veterans so they realize VA is here for them. I like to remind everybody that while you will serve in the military for a limited period of time in your life, somewhere between 2 to 20 years or more. I was in the Army for 3 years, but I've been a veteran for 10 times as long. So it's VA will be here for them long after their service is over, and we really want to connect them to the VA so they make sure they get the benefits they've earned.
Thanks so much, Dr. Lawrence. I'm just going to repeat those numbers again for anyone who might be in a crisis or know someone who is. Please call 800-273-8255. I'm going to repeat that. That's 800-273-8255 or text 838-255. We're going to take more questions in a few moments. Remember to press 0 at any time if you'd like to ask a question. Dr. Lawrence, it looks like we have a few questions coming in. I'm going to go to Kathy. Kathy, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Hi,
Hello?
Kathy. Hi, Kathy. What's your question?
My question was about my husband being a Blue Water Navy veteran, and we applied last July or August. We still don't have an answer on it. He has different medical things. He's got diabetes. He's got 7 stents in his heart. He's got lung disease, and we're just waiting to get an answer of some sort, and all they tell us is they're still working on it.
Okay. So I'm glad you did apply as early as July. We actually could not start granting benefits until January 1st, so there is some lag there as we do that. I'd ask you to give us a call again at the 1-800-827-1000 so we can check in on it. But I'm glad you did apply. I understand that. And just so you know, the benefits are retroactive, so while it is frustrating that it's taking so long, and I totally understand, I totally appreciate the situation you're in, I want you to know that the benefits will be retroactive, so hopefully that will be some consolation.
Thank you, Kathy, for your question. Our next question comes from Karen. Karen, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
Yes, my husband was a Vietnam veteran from 69 and 70. He was a crew chief on a helicopter. He was giving medals and everything. He was an Agent Orange, and he just died last year, IPF, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is a horrible, horrible, horrible lung disease that these men are dying from. Now, I was trying to file some paperwork, and even to try to get for his burial stuff, I had to prove that it was caused by the service. I've got a claim going on him, but at one particular time, I received a letter saying I had to write a letter to prove he was where he was and that I could prove he was there. I found that appalling. He had a 60% disability, 50% PTSD, 10% hearing. In my opinion, if I could have been in that room with him, he would have been 100% disability. He still had horrible nightmares up until before he died. He heard ghosts every night. It was terrible. I feel like I'm entitled to major benefits, that the minute he died, they took one monthly payment away from me, and there was, we're going to give it back to you. It's just like, okay, now he's died, let's sweep him under the carpet, we're going to get rid of him, it doesn't matter anymore, she's just a dependent. I have been fighting for him, trying to get him help for 2 years before he passed. His doctor even said he'd write him a letter. He had COPD, he had asthma, but they tell us to get more medical records. But as you know, as a veteran services, these doctors close, their stuff gets packed up in archives, the doctors die, they move away, there's no such records, you can't get anything. So it's like, well, we don't have any proof. So what am I supposed to do other than without? I feel I owe him. I owe something for him. I had him cremated. He's sitting here in the dining room with me because my son is not even comfortable enough to let go of him from here. Because during that time, my husband was suffering and dying from this. The man stayed alive to get me through 2 cancer surgeries. The minute he could see me stand up and he knew I was going to live, he died. But I wasn't even given the privilege to watch him die because I was so ill. But now I told him I will spend the rest of my life fighting for what he's entitled to if it takes my last breath, because he is not the only Vietnam veteran that served over there in Vietnam that was in Agent Orange. He was crew chief on the helicopter, and he fought for his life and made it possible for a lot of those men to get home. And I feel it's the VA and United States government's responsibility to give him his entitlement through death, through me, to later be left for his children. And now my son, his son, has Swiss anemia. Today, several ulcers bleeding internally, which in my opinion probably came from his father from Vietnam.
Okay. All right. I understand your frustration. I can't possibly imagine all the things you've gone through. Here's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask if it's okay that I get somebody from our team to call you tomorrow and personally look in on your situation. So don't give me any information over the phone other than, yes, it's okay if we call you tomorrow. Is it okay if we call you tomorrow?
Phone number versus him in my home. In the event that I'm away from the house, you can get me any place, anytime, anywhere.
Okay. Okay, I meant to say Monday. I'm sorry, I lost track of time, so please don't say anything over the phone that others can hear. There's a lot of people on the line. We have your number. I will talk to somebody on our team to reach out to you on Monday to figure out how we can best help you. I appreciate you taking me through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for your question. Our next question comes from Beverly. Beverly, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence.
Yes,
What's
I
your
am.
question?
My question is very similar to the lady you were just talking to. My husband passed away in January of 2019. In February, I went to the veterans, filled out all the paperwork, had a very nice woman that helped us. There were a few things that she needed from me that I hadn't brought with me, which I went down again and took care of it. It was sent off to another place, wherever they send them to do the real digging. And at that time, my address was put wrong in their computer. It was right on the paperwork that they had. It was wrong on the address. So I did not get any correspondence back because they used the wrong address. So I went back to the VA and we got it straightened out, and I had to file again more papers. And now they've had it. This has been since January 25th of 2019. And I still, today, as of today, have not heard anything. So I'm really concerned. My husband was in the Korean War, and I'm old. I can't work. So I just had to get that off my chest, I guess.
No, I understand. I appreciate the situation we're in. Again, I'd ask for the same thing. If it's okay with you, and just given that there's a lot of people on the line, if it's okay with you, I'd like to have someone from our team call you on Monday to better figure out how we can help you. Would that be okay? Would that be okay if we call you on Monday to help?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. We'll take care of that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for
your situation. Do you mind me listening still?
No, sure. You'll be just taken off this phone call, but you're absolutely welcome to stay on the line and listen. Yes,
okay.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly, for your question. Our next question comes from Adrian. Adrian, you're on the line with Dr. Lawrence. What's your question?
My question was about the blue water Navy. I wanted to find out if I possibly missed anything earlier when he was giving out phone numbers and stuff about it. Would he please give me the rest of the information again? I missed some of it.
Sure. Let me make sure I give you the numbers. I'll repeat a couple times, and I'll summarize the Blue Water Navy thing. So please call us, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, at 1-800-827-1000. Again, I'll repeat it for you and others. 1-800-827-1000, and we'll help you. We'll help you work your claim. If you're able and comfortable, you can go to va.gov and learn. If you search on Blue Water Navy, you'll be able to learn more about the benefits that are available and how to apply online. You can also go to the Florida Department of Veterans Services. You can contact them at 727-319-7440. I believe on that line you'll leave a message. Within 24 hours, one of their veterans claims examiner will call you up to schedule an appointment to better figure out how we can serve you. So please, please, please pursue this. Perhaps you have friends at the American Legion or Disabled American Veterans. They also have service offers who will help our Blue Water Navy veterans figure out what they're eligible for and apply.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. And that's our last question. Dr. Lawrence, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. Well, first, thank you to everyone who joined us this evening, especially those I interacted with. I really appreciated the questions. They were very, very helpful to understand what's going on and insightful. So to the folks we promised to follow up with, we will. To the student veteran who asked about STEM, I promised to get that on the website for you. And again, it really helped me understand what veterans are thinking about, so what we should be talking about and writing about and sharing on social media. I also want to make sure we thank, and I can't forget, the leadership of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. We very much appreciate the Executive Director, Danny Burgess, for his leadership. I know also that he's a captain in the United States Army, albeit in the reserve, so hoorah. So Army folks have to stick together. And, of course, we couldn't forget the regular interaction with Hammer Hartzell, James Hammer Hartzell, the Deputy Executive Director. He's a retired Major General, so we thank both of them for their service and while they're in the military as well as now serving veterans. We appreciate their help getting the word out on town halls. And some of the things they do, we're really learning from. They have a great document called Forward March that describes a lot of the things they're doing, and they've been real leaders in getting the message out to the 1.5 million veterans in Florida on COVID-19. Again, you can visit them at floridavets.org or call them if you need some help at 727-319-7440, and they'll have a veterans claim examiner get back within 24 hours to schedule. I look forward to being able to travel again and get down to their office, shake hands with them, and stand next to them for a picture. But until then, we'll have to do social media. So again, I'm on LinkedIn. If you use that, it's just my name, Paul Lawrence. Every Friday at noontime, I try to do a short little video, about 10 minutes, what's the latest from VBA. I did one earlier today. And you also, if you look on LinkedIn, you'll see us announcing, what we call our performance and results webcasts. Once a quarter at the end of 3 months, I go in and talk about how we've done at VBA and all the things we've done. The next one is April 30th at 2 o'clock, and you're welcome to register and join in. So thank you to everyone who joined and participated today. Really appreciate your interest and passion.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. I just want to remind everyone how you can get more information on some of the programs Dr. Lawrence highlighted. For more information on the Solid Start program, Veterans Benefits Banking Program, or Blue Water Navy, you can visit va.gov or call 1-800-827-1000. We'll be posting the FAQs from tonight's call on our social media channels Monday afternoon. And to follow us on Facebook, search Veterans Benefits Administration, on Twitter at VA Vet Benefits, and on Instagram, VA Benefits. This concludes our telephone town hall for Florida. A big thank you to all the veterans and family members that called in. Good night.